Hey friends, today I'm going to start with my first Make It May project, and I decided to start with this adorable Highland cow felt ornament from Hobby Lobby. I did go ahead and add all of the extra book covers into my TBR jar. I did over 12 from my TBR shelf, so I went ahead and crossed that out, and I also added a few extra things on to the bottom of my page here that I want to add to my list as well. But today we're going to focus on this cute little ornament kit. So this has everything you need in here to create this. So let's take everything out. So it looks like we have the thread we need. We have all of the different pieces. So let's put it all out where we can see everything. These are our horns, and they look like they might be adhesive. And then we have our two cows. And let's see, in this one we have, I'm gonna grab my little tray that we made, and we're gonna dump this stuff out so it doesn't go rolling around on my desk. All right, let's put these other little small items on here as well. So it looks like we have 2 beads, we have a plastic needle, and some felt flowers. We have a bag of stuffing. And we have our instruction sheet. And this is for ages 8 and up. So it tells you everything it's included. Supplies we will need: scissors, fabric glue, and a chopstick or wooden dowel is optional. So I will probably go ahead and turn on my hot glue gun. I don't have any fabric glue. I do have like my Barely Arts glue, but I think I'll just turn my hot glue gun and we'll see if we'll need it. Before you begin, read all instructions, separate all pieces. Beginners may want to practice stitches before beginning their project. And then it tells us step by step. So let me read through this really quick. So step 1 is our hair here, and this is going to be a collar. So these are our 2 hair pieces, and it says layer the brown hair on the tan hair. So it looks like you're just going to layer that, make the edges even, place 1 leaf in pink flower as shown in the diagram, and use the white floss with the bead stitch to add the pearl. Okay, so let's separate our threads here. So we have a couple pieces of white and a piece of black. All right, so right now we're just going to work on stitching in our flowers and our 2 little leaves. And I'm hoping I can do this with my hand, but we will see. All right, so let's thread our needle. Then we are going to stitch up from the back of our hair. And then we are going to stitch through our leaf, and then our flower, and then our little bead. And then you're going to position this wherever you would like. So I have my pink flower on here, and then you can add the yellow flower, and it says just to keep the thread like this. And add your yellow flower right on here. So you're not even doing it separately. So let's hold that down and maneuver our yellow flower where we want it. And then let's add our bead. We're going to follow these directions. I'm not sure what you do after this. I'm assuming we're going to have that one, and then we're going to have this one. But then what do we do with our thread here? Are we just going to like go back through our flower again? Okay. I don't really like how the pink flower is laying, but there we go. So there are our two flowers for now. And then we're going to go ahead and tie this off just because we're not stitching anything else here for now. I got part one finished, so I have our two little flowers stitched on the hair. I don't particularly like how my pearl is laying on my pink flower, but I think that will be okay. Next, we're going to put on our little nose piece on one of our cows. And we're going to need to use the black thread for this. Let me grab my paper and show you. So it says, layer the nose on the Highland cow front as shown. Use the black floss, straight stitch through the holes in the nose to attach and create nostrils. So there is no like print on here exactly where the little nose needs to go, but I think you can kind of look at the picture and decide for yourself where you want it to go. So we are going to go, we're going to think about like, this is where your hair is going to be, right? So you're going to want your nose to be about there. And let's kind of center it a little bit. And I'm going to stitch up beginning from the back. All right, and then I'm going to come over to, sorry, I'm out of frame there. I'm going to come over to here, and then I'm going to stitch back down and pull through, and then we have our cute little nose. So let's go ahead and trim, and we'll tie a knot. We've got our headpiece and our little hair and our nose, and the next is step 3. We're going to layer the hair, collar, and Highland cow front and back, making sure our edges are even, and then we're going to use the white floss and sew all layers together with the blanket stitch as shown. And make sure we leave a opening to add our fiber fill. This is where I can see that our hot glue gun or whatever you want to use could come in handy. If you also did not want to stitch this, I could see how you could go ahead and hot glue this if you wanted to. But we're going to need to line up our little pieces here, which they're not wanting to line up perfectly. Or grab some sewing clips, line up some of your areas. This will be helpful for myself. Or if you don't have sewing clips, you could use pins. But I can see my biggest problem seems to be down here at the legs. So we're going to line up the back of it, and all right, so it didn't matter how you put it on here. It just seems like we have some extra area here for the tail. So we're going to focus on getting, and then we have some issues with these lining up, but I think I can get some clips and we can figure this out. Or actually, I wonder if pins would be better since we're stitching. Now we need to add in our little collar here. And I think this is where the hot glue gun is going to come in handy. So I'm going to add just a little bit of hot glue. And then we're going to add our collar down. And then we also need to do this for our hair as well. So yes, I think fabric glue could come in handy, but you could always use your hot glue until you sew it together. Let's put our hair. And then let's make sure everything is lined up. And I'm going to, I think I'm going to use a clip for this part because there's so many layers here. Now, there we go. Now, I am not the best person to stitch, and I know it's going to take me a little bit to stitch all this with my difficulties with my hand. So I'm going to work on stitching around this, and then I'm going to come back on, and then we will stuff it together and finish off any of our little finishing touches that we want to do. So stay tuned for that. Okay, guys, so I'm at the part where I need to stop stitching and stuff. So this was so much harder than I thought it was going to be. It is taking me a long time just to do the stitching, and I'm in so much pain. My wrist is hurting so bad, and my stitches aren't perfect. They're not the same size. They're not the same distance. I missed this little stitch here, so I'm going to add a little bit of glue. Oh man, I think it's going to be cute, but oh man, was it way harder to hand stitch. I think that you could stitch something like this with your sewing machine, maybe. I don't know. I've never stitched felt, but maybe you could, and then you could have gone back in if you wanted to do some hand stitching. I mean, I'm not even sure if I can stuff this right now, but we are going to try. So let's go ahead and break up our little stuffing here. And I left the top part open to stitch. I was going to leave the side and just kept stitching and forgot. So it is what it is. And then I'm going to grab a paintbrush as my little way of stuffing. Oh goodness, I'm stuffing the paintbrush through my little leg. See, he needs a little bit of stuffing. Come on, stuffing, get in the leg. Do we have stuffing in here? No. Maybe I'm trying to push too much stuffing in there. He just needs a little bit of stuffing in there, not a lot. Just a little bit. All right, I think he has a little bit in there. I think it's easier to maybe use my finger a little bit to get it in there. All right, let's put a little bit more stuffing. And let's use our paintbrush to get it over in that leg. I gotta bring this closer to me to stuff him. I think some of my legs are stitched too tightly to get the stitching in the legs nicely. So like I don't think I can get any stuffing in this leg at all. You know what? It's homemade. It's fine. All right, let's see here. We need to make sure we have stuffing at our face. We need a little stuffing over there. A little stuffing here. All right, other than my little legs here that don't have a lot of stuffing, I think this is going good. And then we need stuffing at our head here. And so I think pretty much we're going to use all of the stuffing. And then we can move it around as needed. All right, so do need to pull these stitches a little tighter now. And so I have it stuffed, and then I just need to finish stitching this, which I'm going to take a break and come back and stitch this later. And then after you have it stitched, we need to, of course, add our hanger, and we need to add our horns on here. So we will finish all that at a later date. I'm going to take a break, put some ice on my wrist, take it easy, and then finish this up tomorrow. All right, I got our cute little Highland cow ornament all finished. And my stitching isn't perfect, and but I'm okay with that. I took a lot to get this done with all of the little stitching. It took me a couple of days, but I think it turned out so cute. I did attach the hanger back here, and then on these two little knots I added just a little bit of hot glue to make sure that they didn't fray. But she is really adorable. So I think this turned out so cute, and I'm glad that I was able to complete this project. So thank you guys for sticking along with me as we make our adorable Highland cow ornament. I think the project next I'm going to work on, I'm probably going to get started on my album junk journal for my son for his graduation gift, which he'll graduate next spring, but you know, he'll blink and that'll be here. And I want to go ahead and get started and start getting pictures printed and put in here, and then have areas where he can add other pictures in there as well. So that's going to be my next project. I think I'm going to cross off my list. Thanks so much, guys. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.